Welcome back to the Success in Trucking Podcast, powered by ES. Hello again, everybody. I'm Greg Thompson, and in this edition of the podcast, Jason Williams, the co-founder and CEO of Expediter Services, will once again be our guest. For this episode, we'll be sharing the final segment of our two-part conversation with Jason as we count down to the Expedite Expo with a special series of interviews. Of course, as we've shared with you in previous episodes of this series, the 2023 edition of the Expedite Expo will take place in Fort Wayne, Indiana on July 21st and July 22nd. Once again this year, ES will be serving as the presenting sponsor of the Expedite Expo, and ES will also be hosting the company's annual Insight Dinner at the Expo on Friday, July 21st. Following our interview with Jason, you can hear details on how you can register for the Expedite Expo and the Insight Dinner at the Expo. Right now, we're ready to take you to part 2 of our interview with Jason Williams, the co-founder and CEO of Expediter Services. Once again, for this interview with Jason, we talked to him by phone. Jason Williams is back with us on our special podcast series ahead of the Expedite Expo. Now, Jason, as I've had the opportunity to talk to you about the Expo over the years, I know it's one of those events that has some history and some good memories for ES. Now, as we jump into part 2 of our interview, I'm wondering if this is one of those times of the year where you can take a moment and see just how far that ES has come since you guys first went to the Expedite Expo.
Well, when we're at the show, we have our dinner there, our Expediter group gathering. I think Jeff Tacker termed that our having egg on us. So I think the first one, he may have been there representing the company by himself with 1 or 2 people. And it was not tied into the show. It was at another event. So now you have 200-300 people there, and you have motor carriers who typically don't participate in events together, come together, not to lay down competition, but more, again, to showcase the industry. Yeah, that's a huge step forward. It's something that's surreal to let you know you're a part of it. We've grown with it. But as far as looking back, honestly, Greg, when I think back through all the things it took and all the cycles and the ups and downs, transitions we've been through to get to where we are today, I just count ourselves blessed. The good Lord has seen us through it. I mean, we've had major transitions in the business, out of the business, in the industry, globally, and somehow we've continued to move forward and been able to continue to develop great relationships and bring new products and services to our clients, to our community, that has helped them also succeed and be stable and move forward. So absolutely, I judge our success based upon the success of the individuals in the community that we service. And if I just look at that, then I have to, not bragging, but just based upon their success, have to say, okay, we're doing something right. And we've been able to accomplish this now going on for almost 20 years. So we're heading in the right direction. But we still have a ways to go. We still have products we want to bring to the table. We still have some services we want to deepen. And we look forward to sharing some of that at the show as well.
As you mentioned, it's always about getting better, improving, seeing what you can do to impact the market. But one of the things I know that from my time with you guys at the Expo and at the Insight Dinner that you just mentioned, one of the things that's really neat for you is that personal contact, that opportunity to talk to folks that may be looking at your program for the first time, to get a chance to visit with you, visit with Jeff Tacker, visit with members of your team, sit down and have a meal at the Insight Dinner. Talk about those opportunities, those personal relationships that in a lot of ways, those continue with old friends coming back to the Expo, folks that are in your program.
Well, it's always good to get face-to-face with people and to get feedback. Again, I don't spend the time on the road that they do. So there's always information shared that we can take back and say, okay, this is working a little different than we thought, or we heard some comments often enough to say, you know what, we need to maybe rethink this particular product or service, or maybe we've missed something that, hey, we didn't realize that this item was becoming as big a hurdle out there in the industry. What can we do to help solve it? So just being down at the street level and having just open conversations and seeing what comes out of it, you can't replicate that in an office. Even if you're doing one-on-one meetings, it's still one person every now and then. But to sit down with several hundred people over a period of 2 or 3 days and just to be able to walk away with a lot of information, let them get to know us. And that's what we try to tell people. This is not a hard sell. We're not trying to sell you a product. We're trying to give you an opportunity to be a part of a community. So a lot of conversation, a lot of open dialogue. We hope to share a lot of information. We hope to receive a lot of information. If we have nothing but a good conversation, then hey, it's worth the time. So that's kind of the way we approach it.
One of the things that's neat about it is that it offers folks an introduction. It offers folks a chance to explore a little bit because, as you mentioned, if you're thinking about making the move from having your CDL as a company driver to becoming an owner-operator, for instance, which you guys do every week, every day with folks, it is not a simple conversation. It's not something that you can just go, wow, snap my fingers, I can do it. The depth that you have in the program, the depth that you have in your offerings, it requires time to look at it. I love the approach that you just mentioned. It's not a hard sell. It's one where you're getting to know them and they're getting to know you. You guys decide mutually how far it's going to go forward. Is that an accurate assessment?
It is. So at the end of the day, people are judging us or assessing Expediter Services as a company and our people to see if they want to do business with us. But honestly, we're also doing the same thing because we do not do business with everybody. So there's always some that we just can't come into agreement with, and that doesn't mean we're right and they're wrong. Sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes there's a difference of intentions, but that's business. So this is not a welfare giveaway program. It's not something that's easy come, easy go. This is an opportunity to start and operate a business, which takes assets and a substantial amount of investment, financial. We know we can bring the equipment and the financing and the services along with the discounted products to the table to give someone a real opportunity. So we're protective of it. We want to make sure that when we do that, we don't want to put somebody into a place to fail. So we want a lot of conversation. We don't take a phone call and take an order and sign people up. It just doesn't work that way. It's a good open conversation. And when everybody feels comfortable, you move forward. For some people, it's fairly quick, and for other people, it's longer, whether their side of the table or ours, just so you know that this has a good chance of succeeding and everybody's confident in it. But until we feel that, we just don't move. That's our commitment to the end user as well, that we're not selling a truck when you can buy it and you walk away with it, we're done. We're investing, which means as long as that business is operating, we're invested, whether it be through the truck or whether it be, again, through back office support or the financing we bring to the table, whatever that is, we're tied at the hip to make sure that that small business is successful and continues to move forward year after year after year, regardless of the cycle that comes. So it just takes a lot of relationship building, but it's what makes it work as well.
One of the things I think that's important to note is the strength of the community, the strength of the program. Can you talk about the retention rate in the community? Because it's incredible when you compare it to what's going on in the industry and the fact that you have the support, you have the community, you have the program. You're setting people up to succeed. You're setting people up for success in trucking.
Well, if you compare to what banks are reporting now, I think BMO may have just put out their quarterly findings and their bad debt or failure rate was up 300%. You saw the same type of increase in failure rate when the pandemic hit, early pandemic, first 6 months or so. And what I can tell you, Greg, is because, again, we're generating safe, stable, profitable capacity. It's a three-legged stool. They have to come together. We don't invest and put our money nor those people's money at risk until all of that comes together. When it does, and when we actually move forward, our failure rate is so tremendously low. Our 7-year aggregate, add up all 7 years, we're less than 3% failure rate. So you're talking about less than 0.5% a year once we finance people. So when you take that, a normal year in most banks runs 2 to 3%. A bad year, like now, might be up for some banks 10, 15, 20%. We're not even in the same universe with those people. Yeah. But neither are we taking people investing in credit scores or investing in the down payments or invested into just the asset. It has to be a good asset with a good operator. And the credit score being good or bad does not tip the scales for us. We're looking for a good operator, someone who knows how to operate that truck. If they have a good credit score and cannot operate the truck, we don't do business. If they have a bad credit history for whatever reason, but they can operate that truck, we will do business. We're looking for a good operator. So it's a clean slate for a lot of people. A lot of people get a fresh start. Honestly, some of the people we turn away go down the street and go to a bank and get a truck, but they also fail at a high rate because they're not operators. They come out of other industries or maybe we're doing business in other ways and they think trucking is easy and they have some money and a credit score and they want to get into it. That's not what we're about. We want to make sure that you're set up for success. You know what you're about to get into, and you have committed the resources, whether it be mental, emotional, financial, whatever it is, resources to make that thing work. It comes together very nicely, and it proves itself year in and year out. It proves itself.
What you just shared there is proof that it works over the long term, and that people find their success in trucking. So I'll ask you a question I always ask you during these. Is it a good time to buy a truck? We talked about the market before, a bit of a down cycle, but is it a good time to buy a truck?
And I always answer the same way because I think it's always a good time to do business. And you just have to have the right pieces. You need the right truck. You need the right financing package. You need the right support system. You need to be set up with the right motor carrier. If you put those pieces together, which you need in a good time or a bad time, then yes, it's always a good time. If you can put together a conversation with an operator, with a good piece of equipment, with a good financing package that has a good service platform underneath them to run under and to support their profits with a good motor carrier, then there's always opportunity. We look at it, again, the same way in peak freight. We're still looking for those pieces to come together. In a bad freight cycle, there's still opportunity to put those pieces together. So to answer your question, Greg, yes, it's always a good time to look at starting your own business and to weigh it up and then make a good decision. And some people, the decision will be, yes, let's move forward. For others, it would be, no, not now, maybe later. And that's just part of any good analysis of an opportunity. But I think we're in a great environment to start stable capacity because you have so much capacity that is fleeing the industry, so many people who are pulling their horns in. I think the industry in these times more than others is value in stable capacity. And therefore, if you can give them that, it's a great time to start it.
Well, knowing that we have the Expo on the horizon, any closing thoughts?
We just look forward to seeing everybody there. Between now and then, be safe. And if you need anything, feel free to reach out to us. Remember, we do this every day. The Expo is just a place that we can come and highlight and showcase what we're doing to a lot of people at one time. But you don't have to wait till the Expo. Feel free to call, and we'd be glad to start a conversation with you tomorrow.
That's the final part of our interview with Jason Williams, the co-founder and CEO of Expediter Services. We'd like to take this opportunity to once again thank Jason for his time and perspective. Now, folks, at the opening of the podcast, we told you about the Expedite Expo and the Insight Dinner at the Expo coming up in July. The Expedite Expo will be held on July 21st and July 22nd in Fort Wayne, Indiana. The Insight Dinner at the Expo will take place on Friday, July 21st. Now, if you're interested in joining ES at the Expedite Expo and being a part of the Insight Dinner at the Expo, we'd like to invite you to visit the front page of the company's website, essuccessiontrucking.com. From the front page of essuccessiontrucking.com, you'll be able to access the Events tab. And once you're on the events page for the Insight Dinner at the Expo, you'll see the information on how you can register for the dinner. ES also has a link in this section of the website to register for the Expedite Expo. And as always, you can register for the Expedite Expo by visiting the following website, expediteexpo.com. That's expediteexpo.com. While both the Expedite Expo and the Insight Dinner are free events, the Expo and the Insight Dinner do require a registration. Now, if you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart, or Google Podcasts, we'd like to invite you to subscribe to the Success in Trucking podcast. Once you become a subscriber, you'll be notified whenever we post a new episode. And finally, folks, thanks for spending part of your day with us here on the Success in Trucking podcast, powered by ES.